we're going to take a look at the architecture of your inner world to get right to the heart of who you really are. You know, we throw around words like self, personality, and identity pretty much every single day. We say things like, oh, that's just my personality, or I'm having a total identity crisis. But what do these words actually mean? Are they all the same thing? Well, as we're about to see, they are very distinct, super crucial pieces of a much larger puzzle. To really get to the bottom of this, let's start with a classic thought experiment. Just imagine for a second that every memory, every thought, every single neural connection in your brain is perfectly copied onto a computer. Now, is that digital copy you? Or is the essential you still back in your physical body? This puzzle really forces us to ask the big question. What is the core part that makes you, you? And that's the central question we are tackling today. This explainer is going to give you a clear map of your inner world, showing you the difference between that unchangeable core you're born with and all the parts you actually have the power to build throughout your life. Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to work from the outside in, and we're going to start with a concept we're all probably the most familiar with, your personality.
So the origin of the word personality actually gives us a perfect clue here. It comes from the Latin word persona, which was the mask an actor wore to portray a character in the ancient theater. And in a way, our personality is exactly that. It's the social mask we wear, the face we present to the world. It's that unique dance between what's going on inside us and how we behave on the outside.
But what's behind that mask? See, this is where it gets really interesting. Your personality isn't just one thing. It's actually a combination of two core components. And to truly get it, we have to separate what you're born with from what you build. The best way to explain this distinction is with a really powerful metaphor. I want you to think of your temperament as your computer's hardware. It's your biological factory settings. It's innate, it's largely unchangeable, and it dictates your raw, gut-level emotional reactions. But then you've got your character. Think of that as your software. It's learned through experience. It's the collection of programs and apps you choose to install and run on that hardware. It's flexible, you can develop it, and it's where your conscious, value-driven choices come from. Let's make this crystal clear with a scenario that, let's be honest, we've all been through. Imagine you're driving and all of a sudden another car just swerves right in front of you, cutting you off. And right here, we see the perfect illustration of the difference. Your temperament, that's your hardware. It's that immediate biological flash of raw anger. You can't really control it. It's a factory setting. But your character, your software, is what happens next. It's the conscious choice. Do you act on that anger and lay on the horn, or do you take a deep breath and just let it go? See, one is an automatic reaction. The other is a deliberate choice. Okay, so we've got the hardware and the software. Now let's move to the very center of the whole system and see who's actually running the show. How does all this stuff get managed? Right, here we meet two more precise psychological terms. First, there's selfhood. I want you to think of this as your vast personal archive. It's the entire library of all your memories, your feelings, your beliefs. It's the answer to the question, what am I? And then there is the self, or Benlick. Now, this is the conscious I, the CEO of the whole system. The self is what actively manages that archive, makes decisions, and is aware that it's doing so. It's the part of you that says, I am. So let's recap. We have the hardware, we have the software, and we have a CEO running the show. So how does this whole system come together to build our identity, that social face we show the world, over the course of an entire lifetime? Well, the famous psychologist Erik Erikson basically created a map for this journey. He proposed that at each major stage of life, we face a central psychological challenge that we have to resolve. So in infancy, it's all about developing trust. In school, it's about feeling competent. But look at adolescence. The central crisis is identity versus role confusion. This is that famous, sometimes stormy period where the question, who am I, becomes the most important project of your life. But here's a really important modern update to Erikson's model. That intense journey of figuring out who you are, it isn't just for teenagers anymore. With so many more career choices and shifting social expectations, psychologists now identify this whole new life stage called emerging adulthood, which is roughly from age 18 to 29. This has become this extended period where that search for identity continues well into our 20s. And this framework from psychologist James Marsha just perfectly captures the different paths we can take. He identified 4 identity statuses, and they're based on 2 key actions, exploration and commitment. So if you've explored your options and then you've committed to a path, you've achieved a successful identity. If you commit without exploring, like just doing what your parents told you to do, that's called foreclosure. If you're actively exploring but you just haven't committed yet, you're in moratorium. That's the classic identity crisis. And if you're not really doing either, you're in a state of diffusion.
What is a human being? Who are we, really? What does it actually mean to be, well, me, or you, or us? It's like we live with this weird paradox, doesn't it? On one hand, we feel like the absolute center of everything. I mean, our consciousness is what experiences the world. It's what gives it all color and meaning. If we weren't here, who would even know the universe exists? But then, there's the other hand. We know, logically, that we're just this tiny speck of dust on a small planet in a ridiculously vast cosmos that would carry on just fine without us. It's a real head-scratcher. So, to try and figure this out, we're going to need a guide. And our guide for this journey is something called philosophical anthropology. Now, I know, that sounds super academic, right? But don't let the name scare you off. The goal is actually pretty simple. It's all about trying to understand what it means to be human, but not by just looking at the separate pieces, like biology or psychology alone. No, the idea is to see the whole thing, the complete living picture. All right, let's dive in. And a good place to start is with our motivations. What is it that drives us? What do we all really want and need? Well, for that, we're going to turn to probably one of the most famous maps of the human psyche ever created. Yep, you got it. We're talking about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I'm willing to bet you've seen this pyramid before, probably in a textbook somewhere, but it is such a brilliant starting point for really getting a grip on our basic motivations. So the base level, the foundation, it's super simple. It's our physiological needs: air, water, food. The stuff our bodies just have to survive. Okay? Got that? Good. Next up, we look for safety and security. A roof over our head, feeling safe from danger. But we don't stop there, do we? The heart of the pyramid is all about love and belonging. It's about connection, friendship, family, all the stuff that makes life feel rich. Then we move up to esteem, that need to feel respected, to have a sense of accomplishment. And right at the top is self-actualization. This is that drive to become everything we're capable of becoming, to reach our full potential. But hold on, because the story doesn't actually end there. See, late in his life, Maslow looked at his own famous pyramid and realized something was missing. There was one more level. He added one final, absolutely crucial step right at the very, very top. And he called it self-transcendence. So what's that? It's this incredible idea that real, true fulfillment isn't just about becoming your best self. It's about moving beyond yourself entirely. It's about serving a cause, connecting to a community, finding a purpose that's bigger than just me. It's meaning on a whole different level. And here's a really key insight from Maslow's work. He noticed that the healthiest, most self-actualized people, well, they just don't see the world in simple black and white. They embrace the gray areas, the complexity, the nuance. In other words, healthy thinking is flexible thinking. It's not rigid. Okay, so this brings us to a massive dilemma, a real contradiction in modern life, right? If we have all this incredible potential for growth and connection and even transcendence, why do so many of us feel, well, kind of lost, anxious, even empty? Well, the philosopher Erich Fromm had a pretty powerful diagnosis for this exact feeling. He argued that modern people have become these passive consumers. We're just an eternally disappointed, restless being, always wanting the next shiny object, but never ever feeling truly satisfied. It's like being a perpetually hungry ghost. Fromm's whole idea was that our society has made this really dangerous trade-off. We've shifted our focus from to be to have. We've stopped valuing things like personal growth, genuine joy, real living, and instead we just chase having things, wealth, possessions, fleeting excitement. We're more interested in the mechanical toys we can own than in who we can be. And what's the result of a world like this? What happens? Well, the great philosopher Bertrand Russell just hit the nail on the head. He said the whole problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves and wiser people so full of doubts. It's a world where confidence often gets confused with competence, and that's a dangerous place to be. So the big question is there a way out of this? Is there a path back to a more meaningful way of being? For a really powerful answer, we're going to turn to the work of a Turkish philosopher named Takiyettin Mengeshoğlu. He's one of the key figures in this whole field of philosophical anthropology.
Okay, so Mengeshoğlu's central concept is this idea of the biopsychic whole. It's the idea that a human isn't some separate body and mind. You're not a ghost driving a meat robot, right? You are a single, inseparable union of the two. We are a concrete, living whole. You simply can't separate your thoughts from your biology or your emotions from what's happening in your physical body. It's all one thing.
And this whole human being is just so incredibly rich and complex. We're not just biological machines. We're beings who are knowing. We are acting. We are value creating. We are free, historical, speaking. We even build entire states. The point is, you aren't just one of these things. You are all of them, all at the same time.
So, what does this all boil down to? What really makes us unique? It's not just our big brains, it's not our opposable thumbs. Our unique ability is that we don't just exist. We can step back and ask, why? Why are we here? What does it all mean? We can create our own answers. We're not just spectators in our own lives. We are the authors.
Okay, let's bring all of this back down to earth. These are some big, lofty ideas. But what does it all mean for you? For your life, right now? Well, it all leads to an ultimate human choice.
And here's the choice, laid out plain and simple. Are we going to live a life of just basic needs, down at the bottom of Maslow's pyramid, basically like any other animal? Or are we going to live a life of meaning-making, a life that uses this incredible, unique human capacity for purpose and choice?
So, how do we actually do that? How do we put this into practice? Well, here's a simple 4-step guide to healthier thinking. First step, reject. Reject limiting yourself with a single label. You are so much more than that. You're not just your job title or your political view. Step 2, accept. Accept that you are a complex biopsychic whole. Embrace all the messy, wonderful parts. Third, realize. Realize your own power to create meaning. You're an actor, not just a spectator watching your life go by. And finally, step 4, own it. Own the responsibility for your choices and for your freedom. That's huge. Because in the end, being human isn't really a statement of fact. It's more like a question and a challenge. We are the beings who are capable of creating meaning. So the ultimate question isn't, what is a human? The real question is for you, what meaning will you choose to create?
Okay, so now we have this detailed map of our inner world, the hardware, the software, the CEO, and this whole journey of identity. But what's the point of knowing all this? What's the ultimate takeaway for our actual lives? The goal of this entire lifelong project is to build a healthy, integrated identity. And what does that feel like? Well, it means feeling coherent, like you're the same person whether you're with your boss or with your best friend. It means seeing a continuous thread connecting your past, your present, and your future. It means being authentic, being at peace in your own skin, actually enjoying your own company, and, most importantly, living a life that's guided by values you have consciously chosen for yourself. So the crucial takeaway is this. You can't change your fundamental hardware, your temperament. If you're naturally introverted or you're prone to anxiety, fighting that is always going to be a losing battle. The goal isn't to fight yourself. It's to understand your hardware and learn to work with it. It's all about developing your character, your software, to manage those built-in tendencies gracefully. Like the saying goes, it's a dance, not a war. And we'll end with this final thought for you to take with you. Your temperament, that's your given foundation. But your character, that's your area of development. It is your personal playground, the space where you have real power. So, now that you understand the difference between your hardware and your software, what's the first update you want to make? What's the one character trait you want to start building today?